Good evening. I call to order the Lake Havasu City Council regular meeting on Tuesday, October 25th, 2022 at 6 p.m. We'll now have an invocation from Stephanie Luaris from Christ Chapel, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance led by Cindy Ritter with the Veterans Resource Team.
Good evening. Let's pray together. Father God, as we come together, we celebrate another day that we've had with breath in our body and to walk this great earth. And when we look around and see all the things in this world and in this country that are going on, sometimes the words escape us. But I'm reminded of the words of St. Francis of Assisi, to make me an instrument of your peace. Where there's hatred, let me sow love. Where there's injury, pardon. Where there's doubt, faith. Where there's despair, hope. Where there's darkness, light. Where there's sadness, joy. Grant that I may not so much seek to be consoled as to console, to be understood as to understand, and to be loved as to love. As we gather tonight, all in representing this great city, both as community members and as leaders, may we come together and remember that this is why we're here, in love of our community. And may we speak words of peace and words of growth and edification. Be with our leaders, grant them the wisdom and strength that they need. Be with our first responders, our military, all of those that keep us safe. And we pray all these things in the mighty name of Jesus. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Good evening, Cindy. If you'd like to share a little bit about the Veterans Resource Team, we'd appreciate it.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. Our Veterans Resource Team is made up of all of the veteran organizations in town, along with a lot of private citizens and other 501c3s. And what we do is we not only support the Veterans Treatment Court, but we support our local veterans in need. So if I get a request for a veteran that needs food, rent, water, their electricity paid, whatever it is, they fill out our intake form, and then I go through and vet them to make sure that they're not needing a handout, that they're needing a hand up. And then I send email out to everybody on my email list and beg for money. And miraculously, within usually a few hours, I have the money that I need in order to help that veteran. And we don't give the veteran the money. I actually go and pay the bills that they need or that they're requesting to be paid. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Cindy, and thank you for all the great work that you do.
Thank you.
And if you could stay there, I'm going to come around. If you want, join me up here. So today we have a special presentation. We kind of tricked Cindy to be here as our pledge speaker, but each year I have the opportunity as mayor to pick a citizen and feature a citizen that goes an extra mile. And Cindy was very humble at the microphone on the work that she does with the VRT, but it's my honor today to offer a proclamation naming today Cindy Ritter Extra Mile Hero Day, October 25th, 2022. Whereas today, Cindy Ritter is being recognized as Lake Havasu City's Extra Mile hero for volunteering much of her time and talent over the past 8 years and giving back to the community she loves so dearly. And whereas Lake Havasu City acknowledges that a special vibrancy exists within the entire community when its individual citizens go the extra mile in personal effort, volunteerism, and service. And whereas in honor of the upcoming Extra Mile Day celebrated on November 1st, it is fitting to recognize Cindy, who goes the extra mile every day in heart, mind, and action. And whereas perhaps Cindy's greatest contribution is her dedication to the active military service members, veterans, and their families in our community. Cindy spends countless hours going the extra mile serving as the president of the Lake Havasu Military Moms, secretary of the Veterans Resource Team, mentor services for the Veterans Treatment Court, the vice president of the 9/11 Committee, and often assists other military individuals and organizations within the community, such as the Vietnam War Commemorative Partnership and Gold Star Mothers, just to name a few. She also serves the community through various charity activities as an elk and an elkette. And whereas without asking for attention or recognition, but simply reaching out to those in need, Cindy embodies the heart of our community through her devotion and selflessness and love for Lake Havasu City. We are thankful for Cindy Ritter's friendship and loyalty for being our extra mile hero. Now, therefore, I, Cal Sheehy, the mayor of Lake Havasu City, Arizona, do hereby proclaim October 25th, 2022 as Cindy Ritter Extra Mile Hero Day in Lake Havasu City. And I urge all of us, each individually in our community, to take time on this day and throughout the year to not only go the extra mile in his or her own life, but to acknowledge those who are inspirational in their efforts and commitment to make their organization, families, and our community a better place. Congratulations, Cindy. Again, thank you so much, Cindy. We'll now move on to item 4 of our agenda, which is the roll call. Ms. Williams, if you please call the roll.
Council members Nancy Campbell,
Here.
David Lane,
Here.
Michelle Lynn,
Here.
Cameron Moses,
Here.
Jenny Koch,
Here.
Vice Mayor Jim Dolan,
Here.
Mayor Cal Sheehy.
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item 5 on the agenda is our call to the public. This is an opportunity for citizens to address the City Council on items within the jurisdiction of Lake Havasu City. The jurisdiction of Lake Havasu City means it'd be something that this council could act on. Your comments are limited to 3 minutes. There is a light indicator box next to Ms. Williams. Green means you have 3 minutes. Yellow means you have 1 minute remaining. And red means that your 3 minutes is up. Again, you are here to address the City Council, so please face forward and address us. This is a business meeting, so if we can't keep decorum, then we'll close the public hearing and just move on to the business portion of our meeting. Also, please refrain from applause and the like as we go through and do this. And also, there are opportunities to engage with your city council at other times when we can have a two-way conversation. During call to the public, it's really just a one-way conversation where we can listen intently to your thoughts and your comments, but we can't have a two-way conversation. So if you're wanting to do that, we can do that at another time. Also, if you're here for one of our public hearing items, we do encourage you to wait until that portion so we can have a two-way conversation on whatever your comments may be. You do not have to sign up for call to the public, but we did have a few citizens do so. So we'll start in the order in which they signed up, and then we'll open it up to everyone. So the first person is Gary Goodman. Yeah, Gary, if you'd please make your way to the microphone and just state your name for the record.
Name is Goodman, Gary Goodman. My wife Sally over there, almost 50 years of marriage, but that's not what we're here to talk about. Sally and I are changing our residency, moving down from Central Oregon. And one of the things I love about Havasu, amongst many, is that the uniform down here is shorts and t-shirt versus insulated coveralls back home. So one of the things I wanted to do was to get involved in the community, and especially like Cindy, with volunteering. And one thing that I feel strongly about is having litter-free as much as you can roadsides. So I thought, okay, we bought a property just outside the city limits on London Bridge Road. And so I went to Public Works and asked for an application to fill out for your Adopt a Street program. The application, it turns out, and I won't show you, just take my word for it. If you want to see it, I can do that. But your application is about 8 to 10 pages long. About 2 pages of that, or at least 1 page for sure, is asking for insurance, indemnification against the city, or as a what do you call that, additional insured or whatnot. So I thought, I learned that the city has 38 miles or 38 sections of Adopt a Street available. 11 of those are filled. So to me, the application is really onerous and it's kind of a barrier. So I compared that with Mojave County, and I also adopted. I did actually adopt that one, and that's about a 3-page application. Arizona Department of Transportation's is 2 pages. So, you know, again, in the spirit of volunteering and getting people wanting to help in the city and do their part, we can't go out and fix sewers for you or, you know, fresh water lines or paved streets, but I think more people would be apt to adopt a section of your streets if the process was not so onerous. Any questions?
Yeah, we can't have a two-way conversation, but we appreciate your comments, and we'll definitely take a look at that.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. The next speaker is Brian Springberg.
Good evening, council members, mayor. I'm here tonight. My predominant focus is to voice overwhelming support for you. Recently, we've seen our mayor, specifically City Councilman Dolan, maybe to some lesser extent, some others of you come under fire from various factions around town, to the point to where, you know, it felt as though instead of using their American right to protest, they instead turned into something that you were evildoers, that you were people who reflected poorly on our community. And I want you to know that there are many, many thousands, by far the biggest majority in this town, who do not see you that way and know you differently. To know you, to know the mayor, to know Jim Dolan, to know Cameron Moses, I know that you guys have been at the forefront of some of this negativity, is to know family men, to know people who fit into the politics of our community as conservatives, who have no agenda at all to be here, and yet for the citizens of Lake Havasu to stand by and watch you be attacked, degraded, and otherwise vilified, not only is a negative to you, but reflects horribly on our community. And so I am here today to tell you in all positivity that you are appreciated. You are what we aspire our community leaders to be. If you were to draw up a checklist of who do you want leading your community, what kind of human being do you want leading your community, you are those people. And so I thank you personally, and from the many, many hundreds of people I've spoken to recently and the thousands I know that voted for you, please know you are appreciated and do not just take to heart the negativity unjustifiably that's been coming your way. Thank you.
Thank you. That concludes speakers that have signed up. Would anyone else like to address the City Council during call to the public?
Good evening. My name is Cindy Johnson, and the reason why I'm up here speaking again tonight is because we're still allowing children to participate in the drag queen show. That's why I'm here. When that gets resolved, I will no longer come up here. So that's my agenda tonight. 2 months ago, there were several people that stood up and spoke their concerns about having children present at the drag queen show. And at that time, we were pretty much ignored. It's kind of a 5-2 to be exact. And so we just, we're just keeping at it. But I want to say that sexualizing children is a crime. It's a moral crime. And we're seeing that happen in drag queen shows all across our nation. It's not a question of if it's going to happen. It is happening. You had said in the newspaper that you can't do anything about a crime until it's committed. Well, I'm so sorry. Well, you're bringing that crime here to Havasu, and yet there is a way to stop it from actually even taking place. and that's to make the Drag Queen Show an age-restricted event, 18 years and older, period. We have age-restricted events all the time. It's very common, it's very accepted, it's not a new idea. And I really don't think that we need to spend more money on hiring an outside consultant firm to take care of this. So I'm asking you, please, to be moral, responsible adults and get this taken care of. And I'm hoping that we can do it sooner than later. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you for your comments. The next speaker, please state your name for the record.
Hello, Mayor, council members, David Diaz. I wanted to give a quick update on the Mojave Military Museum. We had a great first inaugural year, started out here in the City Hall, and we're going to end it. We just got word with the Dean of MCC. We're going to, after 2 months at the airport, which is very successful, a lot of families going there, grandmothers bringing their grandkids and other out-of-state veterans. Very, very successful, to the point where the Dean of MCC called us and wants us to put it in the library over there at the college, which you and David Lane and I spoke on Saturday at the stand down. So thanking to all the city council members and the city manager that helped us get this off the ground at the first exhibit here at the City Hall, and just want to get the word out and maybe bring some more eyes and status over to MCC with the Mojave Military Museum. So thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, the next speaker.
Hi, Donna McCoy, citizen of Lake Havasu City for over 20 years. Mr. Mayor, council, staff, I just am here to tell you that I too agree that you guys have done an incredible job. My 20 plus years of living here, all I've heard from individuals in the city is that they want less government in their lives. They want to be in control of what they do and they don't do. And so I think that you're taking the correct step. The individuals that don't want to go to the drag queen show or whatever it is, don't go. And if you don't want your kids there, don't take your kids. They won't be allowed in if they're young children unless they're with an adult. So we have to give the freedom to the parents and to the individuals to decide if this is what they want to do. We let everyone have their individual right of what it is that they want, and we need to do that. And I personally think that the citizens in this city believe in what you're doing. And that's why with the last election, it was overwhelming that they felt the city was running smoothly and well, and we did not need to turn it upside down. Like it or not, the citizens have spoken. So we need to give you the room to do that. And I appreciate all of the time that you have given for our citizens that don't appreciate. I'm just sad and sickened by the personal attack. I just never thought we would get to that. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, distinguished members of City Council. My name is Mike Bonney. Brian couldn't have said it any better, and I certainly can't say it any better, and I echo Donna's words. The support that we give City Council, the job that you're doing, the wonderful job that you're doing. My message is going to be very brief, and it's not directed at you. It's more directed at the audience, as well as the hundreds of thousands of people that are watching at home tonight. Really? And that message is, I would encourage everyone to listen to the voice of the crowd as opposed to listening to the voice in the crowd. And think about that. Listen to the voice of the crowd rather than the voice in the crowd. Thank you very much for your time. Keep up the good work.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council, fellow residents of Lake Havasu City. My name is Kelly Meister. I've been watching the city council meetings on TV, and I'm sickened by the circus of bigoted hypocrites that parade forward every meeting crying that they are here to protect the children of Lake Havasu City. Yet the same clown show did nothing to protect the children of Lake Havasu from 54 registered sex offenders on the city website before they abused children. I guess it's fine for uncles, grandfathers, priests, etc. to abuse children, but God help us if the faggots who wear drag in privately owned venues show up in Havasu, because then the Havasu Children Protection Squad come out full force. If this is all about protection of the children, why weren't there protesting at the Havasu School Homecoming event where the male students dressed in cheerleading uniforms and wore makeup? That was on the front page of the newspaper, the E-edition. And then they were cheering on the female students who were playing powder puff football. These self-proclaimed protectors of the children have singled out one group of people. And as a lesbian who has raised 3 beautiful daughters, I'm offended. All of this ugliness needs to stop. One resident and member of the protection squad has taken her fight nationally because she felt she wasn't getting enough attention from our mayor and our city council. Now the mayor and vice mayor are receiving death threats. Words and actions have consequences. There are nuts in this country who are looking for any reason to pull the trigger. Lake Havasu City is normally a safe place to live. But are we in Havasu going to be safe with people gunning for our mayor and our vice mayor? People, this isn't about the children of Havasu. This has always been about you and your prejudice. Gay is not a disease, and it can't rub off on you. Hate is the disease, and it grows with prejudice.
Thank you. Good evening.
Good evening. My name is Linda Bender. I'm a long-term resident of Lake Havasu City for probably over 40 years. And I also at one time was vice mayor of this city and on the city council too. I don't often write to the newspaper or come and make calls to the public statements, but I was so horrified by what I read in the newspaper last week. I found it so egregious that I had to come tonight and just tell you, Mayor Sheehy, and also Vice Mayor Dolan, that I'm so sorry that you have to put up with these threats when you're just doing your job. You were re-elected overwhelmingly. You have tremendous respect in this city. And this whole thing is so uncalled for. My heart really does go out to you. The misinformation that was spread was terrible. I don't understand what people can't understand about this. This show is on private property. The city cannot do anything about that. It is private property.
Yeah.
Do you get it?
Ms. Bender, you have to address the council.
I'll address you.
Yes. Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
I should know that.
Yes.
Also, the fact that we're talking about the children. I know everybody is so concerned about children being brought to this. It's not the city council bringing the children. It's the parents. If you have an issue with that, take it up with the parents. And as many people have said before, just go down and walk by our channel. Any day of the week, you'll see horrible things down there going on. But hey, it's people's rights. So one thing I really would like to bring up that I found kind of interesting was that several years ago, as some of you might remember, our very own Republican Women's Club did a fundraiser by bringing in a drag show from Parker. It was an absolute sellout, enjoyed by everybody. Nobody had a problem with it. And if you're worried about children being sexualized, which I don't really understand going to a show, how they can be sexualized by that, I'd worry more about the talent pageants that these children are dressed up to look like, little hookers when they're 5 years old and, paraded in front of all of these people in these shows. And look what happened to poor little Jean Benet Ramsey. I mean, that was a perfect example of a child who was sexualized. But I think what I really wanted to say too is you'd all better be very well aware of what happened recently to our Uber misinformation spreader, Alex Jones. So I'd be very careful with what everybody has to say. But again, I think a heartfelt public apology should be given to you, Mayor Sheehy and Vice Mayor Dolan. And remember, nobody is forcing anybody to go to one of these shows. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
It's always been about the children. You have grown men drinking alcohol, wearing lingerie, wanting to have children watch them. That's what it's always been about. Every town is being tested. How are we going to stand? It's always been about the children. Can the children drive themselves there? No, they can't. This is just absolutely sad that it got to this point, but you guys were made aware of this before when we told you guys this, that the event, avprideshow.org, please everyone look it up, avprideshow.org, the event organizers had the pedophilia symbol on their website. Pedophilia is sexual love of children. It's always been about the children, so I would just encourage everyone to look at their heart and just, is this how we want Havasu to stand? Because again, this is our Sodom and Gomorrah moment. Every city's being tested. And the children can't drive themselves. And Cal, I know every time we're up here, Mayor Cal, you always admonish about the clapping, but yet not one time tonight. So I'm just going to put that out there, but blessings to all.
Thank you. The next speaker, please.
Hi, I'm Daniel Offit, and just got three things to say about this. I'm not going to make a big deal about it, but this type of behavior with the drag queen thing is kind of goes.
Sir,
against,
could you just put the microphone a little closer and restate your name? I didn't catch it.
Yeah, just Daniel Offit, and I just three things I'd like to state. I know that in the Bible it talks about lewd behavior and things, and in God's eyes it's not a good thing. And if you don't believe in the Bible, this type of behavior goes against natural law also. And thirdly, this country, city, state is led by a constitutional thing where majority rules. If the majority of people do not want things, that's how it should be decided. That's all I'd say. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Would anyone else like to address the City Council call to the public? Please just make your way to the podium and state your name for the record.
My name is David Leslie. Just a comment to follow up what Dan had to say. I'll say we don't see the damage right now of children, young children under the age of 18. We will see it down the road. We don't feel the pain now, but we will. To let a child go and attend these drag queen shows, we're going to see it down the road. The formative years are now for these children. Is it for money or is it for entertainment? I don't quite understand it. Not at all. I mean, they're the victims. You guys, they're the victims. I don't know why they're portraying you guys as whatever. The children are the victims. We won't see the damage, like as I said, it'll be down the road. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah.
Good evening, Mayor and Council, Management, Secretary. You don't get much attention or applause, do you? Well, we had our Republican Men's Club meeting this morning, and the mayor came and Nancy Campbell came, and we had a big discussion about the courthouse. You know my love for the courthouse. So we had Nancy said, let's take a hand count vote if you would pass the proposal for the courthouse. And it was a majority said they would vote for it. That was one thing I really wanted to say something else, which is you're going to have a discussion about billboards, political signs, etc. Last primary, I was in Las Vegas. Won't tell you what happened to my money. Went down the tube. But anyhow, they had political signs, board probably 10 feet, maybe 12 feet by 10 feet. And you were able to put your political sign on that board. That's all they had. There were no signs sticking up out of the ground. They were strategically placed. Some were facing the freeway, some were facing the main streets. But this was, I thought it was a great idea. You're going to discuss this later, and I didn't see this idea in the plan. But I do think this would be a great thing. We have a lot of property in Havasu that we can put these big signs up, and then all the political signs go on that sign. And thank you guys, doing a good job.
Thank you.
Hey, good evening. I'm Bonnie Toy, and I would like to say, just wanted to remind you about your promise to check on lowering the tax rate next year. 2, I really appreciated being able to talk last night at the Parks and Rec meeting. That was really fun. And I did hear about the Downtown Catalyst project. That sounds exciting. And of course, I got to speak about the aquatic center fees. I don't know how that resulted yet, so looking forward to the results of that. By the way, I do appreciate everyone in front of me and behind me. I really do appreciate all of you guys and anybody who comes up to speak. I really appreciate whether I agree with them or disagree with them, because you know what? It takes a lot of muha or whatever guts to come up and speak when you're scared of getting ridiculed left and right. So whether you agree or not agree with somebody, it's really brave for you to come up and speak. Just want to say that. And yesterday, though, when I came to the Parks and Rec meeting, that door over there, I noticed even a couple weeks ago that the door was not open to where I struggle. I'm really sorry, but I struggle. Pulling open that door hurts. You have a little handicap thing that if you push it, it opens it, except if you don't have this struggle, you don't realize that other people have this struggle. So I'm telling you, I have a struggle opening the door, and all it requires apparently is that button being pushed open up on top for it to people who have a struggle opening the door to be open the door. And I just wanted to share that with you. Oh, yesterday I was driving by the Dollar Tree and I saw this lady on the ground. So I stopped, because right there in front of the Dollar Tree was a handicap spot, and I happened to be handicapped, so I pulled in. Tried to ask her, try to help her. There was a group of people there. People are amazing. Just random people helped her out left and right. Turns out the asphalt was all wrong and crooked. So she fell on her knee scooter because of the driveway at the Dollar Tree. I also noticed when I was driving my mobile utility scooter, whatever, around town, there's a lot of driveways like that. I don't know how you guys correct those things, but especially on the highway, there's huge stacks of asphalt. And another thing, I was thinking recently, you guys should really consider allowing children at the adult bookstore. I mean, why not?
And would anyone else like to address the city council during call to the public?
Good evening, council, mayor, vice mayor. My name is Steve Greeley, And I check the Go Lake Havasu website every now and then to see if there's been any changes on what they're talking about with the Pride event. And it still says the event is open to all ages. Attendees younger than 18 years old must be accompanied by a parent. The show will consist of some adult content. In parentheses, it says language. You know, compromise is something that this country, quite frankly, was built upon. And I don't understand why there can't be some compromise. I don't believe in censorship. I think every person should be heard. However, words and rhetoric do have consequences. And as Brian alluded to, and Mike Bonney also, the threats, it's unacceptable. This community, I've known it for a long time. It was shocking to me that it got back that we were having threats made to our elected officials. And I don't think anybody in this room would condone that. So I think we need to move on. Go Lake Havasu, I don't know. I'm just asking a question. I know you can't answer it. But publicly, have they reached out to the organizers of the event? Have they tried to compromise and maybe even get rid of the first opening sentence, the event is open to all ages? And then keep in attendees younger than 18 must be accompanied by a parent. I don't think anybody in this room would want to tell a fellow parent how to raise their children. I think that crosses the line. However, I think there is an opportunity for us to compromise on this and get it behind us, because February still a ways off and it's just going to keep on festering. And if the folks at Go Lake Havasu could make a public statement or press release and let us know if they've tried to reach out to the organizers and try to come up with something that benefits everybody, which I think is a possibility. The will of the people, there's a lot of will of the people that feel certain ways. And I think you have to listen to every side and everybody that has a concern. So back to it, heels are dug in. I think compromise is something that a lot of people are open to. I just think somebody needs to take the lead. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to address the city council during call to the public? Yeah, sir, you already had an opportunity. Yeah. You get one opportunity at call to the public. Yeah. Would anyone else like to address the city council at call to the public? All right, seeing now, we'll go ahead and close the call to the public. Move on to our business portion of our meeting. Item 6 is our consent agenda. Would any of the council members like to remove any of the items for separate discussion?
Mayor,
Councilmember Koch,
motion?
please.
I move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
We have a motion from Councilmember Koch and a second from Councilmember Lane. Is there any additional discussion? Seeing none, we're ready to vote.
Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you. Item 7 is correspondence, communications, petitions, announcements, and the city manager report. Item 7.1 is announced vacancies on Lake Havasu City boards, committees, and commissions. Ms. Williams?
Mayor and City Council, there are several vacancies on Lake Havasu City boards, committees, and commissions. The following is a listing of those vacancies. Board of Adjustment, 3 alternate members, and the Planning and Zoning Commission, 1 regular member. Applications are available at City Hall, and they're also available on the city's website at lhcaz.gov. Applications are being accepted for consideration of these vacancies, and the deadline to apply is Friday, November 4th by 5:00 p.m. Thank you.
Thank you. Item 7.2 is the city manager's report. Good evening, Mr. Knudsen.
Good evening, Mayor. Good evening, Council. Lots happened in the 2 short weeks since our last council meeting, including Vice Mayor David Lane and Councilmember Nancy Campbell. You kicked off the Lake Havasu City Veteran Center's inaugural Breast Cancer Awareness Walk. Mayor, you proclaimed the month of November as National Hospice and Palliative Care Month and Alzheimer's and Caregiver Awareness Month, with Vice Mayor Jim Dolan in attendance as well. Mayor, you and Councilmembers David Lane and Cameron Moses attended the Veterans Treatment Corps graduation to celebrate 4 new graduates of the program. Mayor, you and Councilmember David Lane attended the stand down just last Saturday, thanking all of our veterans for their service and the community partners that were there to assist our veterans. Mayor, you participated in the Early Childhood Education Open Table event hosted by Guiding Light Christian Educational Center to continue conversations and efforts within the community, focusing on the importance of healthy development and learning of young children from birth to age 5. And finally, just this last Sunday, Mayor, you served as the keynote speaker at the Elks Annual Drug Awareness Poster Contest luncheon and presented certificates to 11 winners. In the photo on the bottom left is with you, Mayor, is Kylan Bracamonte. He's a proud fourth grader from Oro Grande Elementary School. And congratulations to all the winners in that poster contest. After 20 years of service with Lake Havasu City, Battalion Chief Mike Quijada is retiring from Lake Havasu City Fire Department. His last day with the city is Monday, October 31st. In July of 2002, Mike Quijada joined the fire department as a battalion chief. His fire service career spans 42 years with various fire departments throughout California and Arizona, of course. During his tenure, Battalion Chief Quijada received multiple training certifications, managed several areas of responsibilities, assisted in mentoring new recruits, and assisted with the development of the Fire Officer Program. I'd like to thank Battalion Chief Quijada for your leadership, your commitment, and dedication to serving our community. Congratulations to you, Mike, and we wish you a very happy retirement. And finally, it's just around the corner. Halloween is quickly approaching. This Saturday, our Parks and Rec department is hosting the annual Fall Fun Fair. It'll be held at Rotary Community Park, Ball Fields, and that'll take place from 3 p.m. to 8 p.m. It was canceled just a couple of weeks because of weather, so we're hoping that we'll have better luck this weekend. The event is filled with lots of fun, games, and food, and there's a free bag of candy for the first 2,000 kids that are accompanied by a parent, and that's provided by the Lake Havasu Community Credit Union. And then on Halloween night, we have Boo Bash, and it's back and offered as a safe place to take your kiddos in costume to. This fun event is held from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. in the Relics and Rods Hall at our Aquatic Center. There'll be bobbing for donuts. We have bounce houses, crafts, treats, games, and lots of other fun to be had. This is a free event for our kids, and it will be an indoor event. For more information on the Fall Fun Fair and Boo Bash events, please contact our Parks and Recreation Department at 453-8686. And then lastly, just a friendly reminder to everyone in the community that, especially those that will be driving this weekend, to do so vigilantly, and also as well, obviously, on Halloween night. All the events that are happening throughout the town, and there's many occurring throughout the town, and please decrease your speeds and increase your awareness. And we really want to encourage the safety for everybody and for a fun event and a fun night for all of our kiddos. So please be vigilant and watch out for all the kids in costumes. And with that, Mayor and Council, that concludes my report.
Thank you, Mr. Knudsen. Moving on to item 8, which is our public hearings. Item 8.1 is the Class B bingo license application for American Legion Post 81. Ms. Williams?
Mayor and City Council, Joseph Michael White has applied for a Class B bingo license for American Legion Post 81. The bingo games will be held 5 days a week from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. Wednesday through Saturday, and from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. on Sunday. This is located at 181 Paseo del Sol. This application was reviewed internally and no objections were received. Class B licenses are dedicated to raising funds for their sponsoring charitable organizations. And in accordance with state statute, the local governing body shall, upon receipt of the application, immediately set forth the hearing to be held within 45 days, and then provide that recommendation to the Arizona Department of Revenue. Happy to answer any questions.
Excellent, thank you. Are there any questions from members of the council for Ms. Williams? Seeing none, this is a public hearing. Would anyone like to address the City Council on this item? I'll go ahead and close the public hearing. I would like to recognize members from the American Legion that are in the audience today. Thank you for being here. Is there any final comments or questions or a motion?
Mayor, I had a couple questions.
Yeah, Councilmember Moses.
Is there a way to tell on these applications if these are going to be actual bingo games or one of those new bingo casino machines? I mean, basically, a slot machine.
The application that comes forward from the Arizona Department of Revenue, so there's nothing on the application itself that indicates that.
Is there anything to stop us from asking?
The city can put forth like an application and ask for supplemental information to go with that application.
Are the applicants here?
Yes.
They are? Do you intend to do just the bingo, or is it the slot machine?
Yeah. Mr. White, could you make your way just to the microphone at the podium so those at home can?
It's a bingo machine, and it's
like a slot machine.
like a
You
slot
have, you have to put a card into it. The card is issued by one of our employees, and it's kept track of to the individual that takes the card.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you. I appreciate you guys.
Thank you.
My concern with this is we've just seen a very real big uptick in these licenses coming forward. And by the way, my problem is not with these gentlemen, VFW, any charity that they sort. I love what the VFW does, and huge supporters of you guys. It's a matter of this could get out of hand. This there's nothing at the state level to put a cap on how many are in here. There's nothing to stop a restaurateur from putting them in their restaurant and just coming up with a charity and hey, that's the one that's going to support. You know what I mean? This could get out of hand. And I know that we're just a recommendation. We're not the overall approval. I'm more saying this so I hope people start thinking about this. I grew up in a community that had a casino. And it ravaged the community a little bit when it first came in. A lot of bad. I know it's going to be giving to charities, but could it be creating problems that those charities now have to address? And then, we create this vicious cycle. I just have some concerns with the direction it's going. There's no cap. There's no real, there's no limit on how many of these could be. So my hopes is that the higher ups up there at the state level that are decided in their infinite wisdom that this is the way to go, hear these words and hopefully make some changes, because I don't see this going well long term. Right now it's only the VFW and it's only a few other organizations that may need a little boost in funding, but I feel that this could get out of hand, and that's my concern.
Yeah, thank you for your comments, Councilmember Moses. The influx that we're seeing is that state law just changed to allow for these nonprofits to actually apply for these business licenses or these bingo licenses. And the majority of them for users, as you indicated, it looks like a regular slot machine. It looks like a casino slot machine, but it has somehow in the back end bingo technology. But that's what the influx that we're seeing in the community, and a portion of the profits have to go back to these nonprofits.
Yeah.
Yeah. Councilmember Lane? Yes.
Okay. Thank you. And if I could have the American Legion step back up, because that's who my question is for. First off, thank you for all the work the American Legion does.
I'm sorry.
As well as the VFW, but it's the American Legion here tonight. So
Yes,
thank
it
you for
is.
that.
Yeah.
And the only question I have is, you are a nationwide organization, and for the money that you will raise for this for fundraising, will that stay here in Lake Havasu and benefit our Lake Havasu veterans and other nonprofits that you guys support?
Yes, sir, it absolutely will. We live to serve the veterans of this community. And we have many fundraisers, and we do everything that we do for the veterans and their families. And so, yes, it stays right here.
Thank you. That was the only question I had.
Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other questions or comments from members of the council? Entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion, Mr. Mayor.
All right, Councilmember Lane.
I move to recommend that the Arizona Department of Revenue approve a Class B bingo license for American Legion Post number 81 at 181 Paseo del Sol.
Second.
We have a motion from Councilmember Lane, a second from Councilmember Campbell. Is there any additional discussion? Seeing none, we're ready to vote.
Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you, and congratulations. Item 8.2 is adopt ordinance number 22-1296 for amendments to Title 14 Zoning Development Code, Section 14.04.08, sign standards, and Section 14.06.03 definitions, adding development standards for changeable copy and electronic reader board signs, establishing minimum freestanding sign base width, amending political sign standards, and amending sign definitions. Mr. Morris.
Honorable Mayor and council members, thank you.
City staff has recently received comments expressing concerns about a number of topics, among them the width of freestanding sign bases, the size of electronic reader board signs, and regulations for political signs. Following is an overview of the proposed amendments addressing these concerns. The first part, freestanding sign base. A note has been added to our sign table establishing that a freestanding sign base must be at least 50% as wide as the full sign width. This has been the presumed standard for years now and is included in the code. Pole signs are prohibited, therefore this standard is being included, so we have something to make sure we have something to substitute for pole signs. Changeable copy and electronic reader board signs. Notes have been added to the sign table for changeable copy and electronic reader board signs, establishing a maximum size of 32 square feet and a minimum of 8 seconds between displayed images. Review of other Arizona jurisdictions found that 32 square feet was a common maximum size and 8 seconds a common minimum display time for these types of signs. Definitions of miscellaneous language was cleaned up for animated or moving signs, changeable copy sign, and electronic reader board signs. Those definitions in the code section and then language in another section have been updated and revised to accommodate the proposed changes. And then the political signs is the final section. It was reorganized. The layout of that code section was renamed to political signs, and it removed reference to requiring a payment of a fee. It added a requirement that a person or organization planning to erect a political sign must provide the city clerk with a name, address, and telephone number of a person responsible for the placement and removal of the sign. And it replaced the sign-free area map with a more legible version. These proposed changes will become effective in 30 days if approved by the council, which is after the November 8th election. So they will take effect with the next election cycle. The Planning Commission heard this item at its October 5th meeting and recommended approval with no changes to the proposed language by a vote of 6-0. And staff will be happy to review any of the proposed changes as needed. Appreciate your time. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Morris. Okay, so this is, as Mr. Morris said, there's two different topics all dealing with signs in the same code section. So this council had asked for staff to review the political sign piece, and that'll address some of these components during the most recent primary election and right now in the general. There was lots of sign violations without a lot of muster in the code to be able to ensure compliance in those areas, and we were getting a lot of complaints from citizens. And then when it comes to the electronic signs, obviously with the cost of the signs now becoming more affordable, and we're seeing more of them throughout the community to ensure that the integrity of the community and the sign code and how it's supported by the general plan is all put into an area. So they were able to go through, again, planning and zoning already heard this item, recommended approval 6-0 on this front. Do any members of the council have any questions or comments for Mr. Morris?
Mayor, question.
Yeah, Councilmember Campbell?
I happened to hear a portion of your speak out today, and a caller called in and said that there is a code in Bullhead City that they ask you to turn these particular signs off by 10 o'clock because they're very bright at night. I thought that was an interesting question, nor did I ever think of it, but I guess that's what they do in Bullhead City. Have you heard of this code? And have you heard any concerns of this? Obviously, we don't have many of them, but if we start to get more of them, are we going to be having complaints about the brightness of them?
You know, that brightness is not addressed in our city code for these changeable message signs. It's something that we have not had any reports on at this point. Certainly, if it becomes an issue, we would want to address it. We don't have anything about brightness in this proposed language.
Can I make a comment?
Thank you.
to that?
Yeah, let me just follow up. By that caller, I believe, was referring to billboard signs that were afforded them the opportunity through state legislation. And so that was some requirements on that Bullhead City component, not at the local level, is my understanding. So I've only done peripheral. It just happened at noon, so I've only done some peripheral research on it, but that's some of the feedback that I received from that. Yeah, Councilmember Moses?
Yeah, but don't we have something in our ambient light for outdoor lighting? I know we're not a dark skies community, but dark skies type code that would maybe.
We do have something in our lighting code that sets minimum standards for outdoor lighting, things like typically it's household
Cottage
lighting
environment.
and business lighting. It's not specific to electronic reader board signs. We don't have specific light maximums for those. Again, we have not received any reports, but we don't have a specific standard for that other than the lighting code, which doesn't specifically address electronic reader boards, which is a different type of light source.
I would think that would be a good recommendation, move forward how we are right now. And if we have any problems, we can take a look at it. If we have any complaints and concerns, you guys will bring them to us. Thank you.
Any questions or comments from members of the council? All right, this is a public hearing. Would anyone like to address the city council on this matter?
I still think they're very wonderful, whether they like me or not. Hi, Bonnie Toy. I just was under the belief that we were a dark sky city and was confused about that because I know at Go Lake Havasu website, it does say for some of the nicest activities you can participate in Lake Havasu is to enjoy our dark skies. And then I know that in the city code, there is the issue of our lights on our porch are only supposed to be 25 watts, which reminds me again that I still need to go check on that. Yes, I did think we were a dark sky community. It says that your Go Lake Havasu City Tourism page, that we are a dark sky community. Also, I do think the electronic boards would, depending upon the colors they are displaying, would be very distracting. And we already have those beautiful distracting lights on the bridge. So I didn't know how to change the dark sky thing. How do you address that?
Yeah, so Go Lake Havasu is a separate organization from Lake Havasu City. We do have a contract with Go Lake Havasu, so we don't control the content that's on their website. But dark sky, a technical dark sky community has to meet many different measures and metrics, and we don't meet that. So we're not technically a dark sky community. However, that's not to say that our citizens don't respect and want and to preserve dark skies so they can enjoy the great skies in the evening. And that potentially could be what Go Lake Havasu is trying to promote. Again, I don't speak for them and they don't speak for us.
It even states in there that the goal of Robert McCulloch was to have our city be a dark sky city.
Yeah,
It
Ms.
says
Toy,
that
I'm
at
letting you
your-
know we're just not. So I get what you're
Okay,
saying,
so
but we're
what
not
you-
technically.
So what you're saying is Go Lake Havasu sometimes misrepresents your wishes?
I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying,
okay.
I'm saying that we don't control the content in which they put on their website.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Hello again. Just for clarification, and when we voted on this on the plan and zone, and I asked this question to Luke, and he gave a great answer, but I want to get it on the record because there's a lot of people here in the audience and also at home. So political signs on McCulloch and on Lake Havasu Avenue are okay as long as the private-owned business gives you the okay. Because I got a lot of calls and other people got calls saying, why are you putting your signs up there? They're not. No, I got approval by the business owner. It's private property. And I think that's the misconception. I want that to get clarified and put on the record.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Diaz. Yeah, that is correct. So in our sign-free zones that are primarily our main downtown corridor or areas where tourism is taking place, candidates can put political signs there as long as they have the permission of the property owner. The right-of-way, the statewide right-of-way does not take effect in those areas. So you do have to get permission if you want to put signs there from the property owner. Would anyone else like to address the city council on this matter? All right, so I would like to, before I close the public hearing, just in case anyone does have any feedback on this, again, I talked about two different pathways that we have. So when we're talking about the electronic signs, on one part of the code that's going to be revised, the other is the political signs. Currently, when it comes to enforcement of the political signs, which I know is what was really driving a lot of the community feedback that we are receiving by way of complaints, is through our code enforcement department. And so if it's the will of the council to be proactive from a code enforcement standpoint on political signs, we need to have that discussion here and be able to either include that in the motion and or give direction to Mr. Knudsen via consensus that we want to be proactive when it comes to enforcing the sign, the components of the sign ordinance for the political side. We still would be reactive on code enforcement for all of their code enforcement activities. What is the thought of council members on that?
Well, I
Councilmember
have
Moses?
a question about that. How are they, and this is not towards you, maybe towards Jess. What is the mechanism for that? Do they now get out in their cars and actually drive around and look for these issues only during that time of year? And if they are only looking for those issues, but they see other issues, like I don't understand why be reactive versus proactive, but only on this one issue. I don't really see the value in that.
Yeah, so Mr. Knudsen, before so one, we don't have the staff resources. This council is not
Absolutely
given
we don't,
Mr. Knudsen the staff resources to do proactive, nor has that been the community conversation out there. But during the election, when this item actually was brought forward by council, it was brought forward here in this room for a future discussion item. That's what we're having here tonight.
Yeah.
And it was because of the sheer number of complaints that we were receiving from residents, from business owners, from candidates. We're getting it from all fronts. Actually, on Speak Out this morning, we also talked about this, and a lot of the out-of-state candidates look at the clusters of signs wherever they are, and they just think, okay, that's a safe place to put signs, even though those signs might be in violation of city code. Right. And once those sign installers leave, it's very difficult to get compliance. But if we give direction to be proactive in this one front, then we'll be able to address those complaints as they come forward. Mr. Knudsen, I don't know if you have an additional feedback to include in that part of the conversation.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor, and Councilmember Moses. So that's exactly what would happen in terms of their explanation or description. Staff would be proactive for political signage, if that was the direction that we received from council. And I need that because we can't make a determination when and where we're going to start being proactive in our enforcement for certain issues. So if the council feels it's important for political signage, as staff, we need to know that. And so that the rules of the game are established prior to the game being played, if you will. So that type of approach. So if that's the will of the council, we would do that. We would require assistance from employees outside of code enforcement. So that's right now Ms. Abel and Miss Allison are two code enforcement officials, but we'd seek the assistance of other employees and other departments during that time to be proactive in that area. For us to be proactive with code enforcement as a whole, it would take more people, more resources to accomplish that. Yeah.
Mr. Mayor.
Yeah.
I have a question. With you saying proactive and reactive, I guess my concern is we're reactive when we have complaints, then we have the ability to respond. I'm the one that brought it to council during the election because my concern was we have a lot of out-of-town sign companies that just show up, throw their signs everywhere, put them in the middle medium of McCulloch, put them right off the highway, right where you can't see. And then we as a city, we're a little concerned with the code and can we enforce it? And so my concern is that we are able to enforce those when we get complaints, when we notice there's a problem. But I don't think we need our staff out there looking for problems. But when these problems are reported, I think we need to give them the ability to respond within the 24 hours. And if not, take them down as needed. Like I said, I think my biggest concern about this is these out-of-town companies that just, in the middle of the night, boom, and then go to the next city and are never coming back. So, and they've already been paid to put them up, but that we have the ability to then remove them in safety reasons and where they just don't belong. So I don't know, like I said, if that's considered reactive or proactive, but I like just, that we can respond to the complaints as they come in, so.
Mr. Mayor, Mr. Vice Mayor, yeah, certainly. So right now we have a process in place that's reactive. So it's as we talk about that process through code enforcement, we're report driven or complaint driven is another way of addressing that. I heard lots of people in the community have conversations about all the political signs and where they're placed, and there's too many, and they're in the intersections and so forth. But officially, as far as the complaints that came in for political signage, I think we received at one point it was one for the first several months, and then maybe a grand total. I think Luke, if you recall, maybe like 2 or 3 total complaints that were submitted to the city. So when we get complaints, we react. And that's the process for code enforcement. So if council wants to go in a different direction for political signage, then we would be proactive, see a problem, fix a problem.
Yeah, Councilmember Lane.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm going to agree with Vice Mayor Dolan. I don't want them to be proactive. I want them to be reactive. When we get a complaint, I know a lot of the complaints came from me. I had spoken about this with Vice Mayor Dolan, but I didn't follow through and actually file complaints. I tried to handle it myself. Most of them are out of town. I actually called some of those candidates that were on statewide elections and asked them to come back to our town and remove their signs. They said, yeah, we'll do that. They never did. They didn't get my vote because they couldn't follow our laws. But I don't want us to be reactive. Proactive as far as code enforcement goes. I want them to be reactive. Once we open that door, say, well, we wanted to be proactive here, but not here. And then we want to be reactive here and proactive there. Right now, they're reactive based on complaints. Let's keep it that way, not change it. And then I know myself, I'll be a little bit more adamant about actually filing the complaints. I'd like to see us have the ability to take signs down for people that don't want to take their signs down. I know there's somebody that was in the primary election whose signs are still up around town. They need to be taken down. And so we need to have that mechanism in place that we can legally take their signs down if they're not doing it. And then there has to be repercussions against them for not doing their job. So, but again, I don't want that code enforcement to be out there looking for issues. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Councilmember Campbell.
Boy, I don't always seem to be the one that wants to buck the system here, but it seems that way. What I feel is we were reactive before, and it was absolutely packed. They were everywhere. We were left, I see rebar still standing near bicycle paths, and it really seems dangerous and cumbersome to me. And I think as a city, if we really want to send a message out there that this next campaign election, where I will be party to it, I will follow the rules a little bit better because I, like Mayor said, oh, they put them there, I can put them there, and off we go, off to the races. And then everybody, what do we expect then? That we got to take pictures and be reactive as a council and reactive as a community, trying to identify exactly where every one of these signages are? Or do we see how cumbersome this is going to be on our staff and say, the rules, you put a policy in place that makes sense to you, and then you react upon it and see if it's really way too much work for the community. And then we got to rethink it, after this election, and or get the message across to all the out-of-town state that we'll have to now file with the city, where we're going to say, hey, we are going to be proactive on this. And if you put it in the wrong place, we're going to take it down and you better come get them. Because or we're going to throw them away within X amount of time. Because there's a whole lot of people in this community, like they talked about, that is going to come through. They're going to put up their signs. They're just going to wait for you to be reactive, but they're already gone. And I want those signs down, and I want our community to have the ability to be proactive on this one thing. And again, I'm all for freedoms and constitutional rights, but this last election and the year before, they've been getting progressively worse. And I think it makes our city look horrible. And not to mention all the rebar and wire and everything that's just all over the place. So maybe we won't have to do as much work if we set the precedent pretty strong this year. And if it doesn't work, we can change it.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so when it comes to the political signs, the perspective that I come at it from is and no disrespect to any candidates, but is trash. When you see trash on the ground, people leave trash on the ground, and they think it's okay to drop their trash on the ground too. And that's what happens when these political signs go up, because there are people unfamiliar with our community that go through and do their sign placements and leave their signs overnight in a real quick fashion. And so I do like the proactive side of this, so that we can just, if we see a problem, address the problem that way when they come into the community. If our team's already addressed that issue, there isn't a cluster of signs for them to think that they could put a sign there. I don't think it's picking and choosing in this particular circumstance, because it is time sensitive. It's already stated by state law. A lot of this is dictated by state law. There's very little that we actually get to make a choice on, which is our sign-free zone and some of these requirements we're talking about now already enforcing current state law. So some of the other things, just for those watching at home or in the audience, is that you have to have your telephone number or a contact on the sign. A lot of people don't know that, but if you get close to a sign, it is very small, but you can get the phone number, call the candidate, and let them know, as Councilmember Lane had mentioned. So when it comes to the sign or ordinance as presented, and also went through planning and zoning, I support these things. I do have some concerns with the potential brightness of signs, but I think we can address that if and when that becomes a problem. As this is presented, I'm very comfortable with it, but I would like to give the direction to staff to be proactive when it comes to the political signs, just because it really can get out of hand really, really quickly. And so, that's my position on that. And if we have that will at the council, we can move forward with that. Yes, Councilmember Moses?
Jess, will we be able to be proactive with our current budget, not adding any other money to the department or anything else right now? Will they be able to really get this job done like the council wants it to get done?
Mayor, Councilmember Moses, if it's the will of the council, staff will get it done. It may require some overtime, because we'll be asking for some assistance from other departments, but that would be the extent of the cost. Minor tools, things like that would be needed to do some of these things. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, the one thing we say about political signs is absolutely everyone hates them. The candidates hate them. Citizens hate them.
I wish we wouldn't do them at all.
Yes. Yeah. So,
and I put David Lane's number on all my signs.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. So this we still have the public hearing open. Would anyone else like to address the council on this item before we close the public hearing? All right. We'll go ahead and close the public hearing. Bring it back to council for any additional discussion or possible motion.
Mr. Mayor, motion.
Yeah, Councilmember Lane.
I move to adopt ordinance number 22-1296 for amendments to Title 14 Zoning Development Code, Section 14.04.08, sign standards, and Section 14.06.03, definitions, adding development standards for changeable copy and electronic reader board signs, establishing minimum freestanding sign-based width, amending political sign standards, and amending sign definitions.
Second.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
If I could, is there a way to amend, if you wish, amend the motion to either be proactive or reactive?
I will amend that I would like it to be reactive, so that we can look for the signs, people can call us for the signs, but the city staff will then react based on what we do.
Okay. Do you amend your second, Vice Mayor Dolan?
Yeah, I'll amend my second.
Okay. So we have a motion and a second. So by nature of this vote, we go ahead and take this vote. If the vote passes, it would pass as written, with us being reactive in our code enforcement with political signs. If this motion fails, we can then present another motion that would have this be proactive if that was the will of the council. With that being said, is there any additional discussion before we vote?
Mr. Mayor.
Vice Mayor Dolan?
I guess I'm still torn between reactive and proactive. I think it's kind of a hybrid version. I think we all kind of want. I don't think we want staff out there looking for every single new sign that pops up. I think that's unrealistic, but I think we want them to see when there's a problem and there's a complaint that they take them down and we stay ahead of it. So I don't know how we word that other than letting them know that's kind of what we want, if we want to call it a hybrid proactive. But I just don't want to, staff just shows up and they're watching the streets. It's, there's a fine line between here. And I think we may just be stuck on a specific word. But I think, yes, we want them to take care of the situation when it comes up. If we need the Public Works to go out and take them down and things like that. Yes, I think we want that when there's an infraction and we know it. But like I said, we don't want people sitting on every single corner waiting for a sign to go up. So,
Mayor?
Yeah, and, yeah.
If I may, and the city attorney can probably help me with this. I don't want the city staff to be driving around looking for political signs is what I'm getting at. But however, if they see one, then they see, well, this is illegal. I don't see a reason, but that's the problem. And I think that's the hybrid issue. We either have to give city staff, this is what we want you to do, or this is what we want you to do. Would we like it that if they see it, yeah, they can take it down, but I don't think we can write the law that way.
Yeah,
So I think it would have to be reactive or proactive.
With what you're saying. I mean, the motion is to be reactive, which is exactly how we are right now. That's how we get a complaint, a formal written complaint or call-in complaint, and the city responds. And that was the motion. That's not what you said, with all respect, in your description, but that was the
And that's what I intended.
motion, and that was the second. So as the motion stands that you're going to be voting on, it's to be reactive. It's not a hybrid. I mean, you could say
we
those
still handle the
things to
situation
staff.
and fix it.
Yeah, but that's the motion that you're deciding right now. If we want to have further discussion on a different
motion,
yes, action, then we can have that. But the motion right now is reactive, so that's status quo.
So, Vice Mayor Dolan, the definition you gave in this case is proactive. We're not giving the direction for Public Works and everyone to go around, but the definition you gave of what you wanted in your hybrid is really would be proactive.
Yes, I'm leaning more towards proactive in that phrase. So
Yes. So that is what the definition is. We all know we don't have enough resources to drive around and find every person that's speeding, or every person that runs a red light, or every person that rolls through a stop sign. But we still have a very proactive police department. And so that's kind of what we're looking at. So we would take our resources and we'd use them when those complaints come in. Again, the motion we have on the floor is to be reactive, which would mean that we would not go out and do that. If this motion passes, that would be the direction of the will of the council. By doing a no vote here, that would allow for an opportunity for another motion to come forward that would have it be proactive. With that being said, I believe we are ready to vote.
Well, no, he's taking away his second, isn't he?
Okay, we still have a motion and a second.
It's already been motioned and seconded, so
Yeah.
that is the
Yes.
motion on the floor.
Yes. So
Motion fails 6-1.
thank you. I'd entertain another motion.
Mayor, motion.
Yes.
I move to adopt ordinance number 22-1296 for amendments to Title 14 Zoning Development Code, Section 14.04.08, Sign Standards, and Sections 14.06.03, Definitions, adding development standards for changeable copy and electronic reader board signs, establishing minimum freestanding sign base widths, amending political sign standards, and amending sign definitions on a proactive direction
For political signs.
for political signs.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion from Councilmember Campbell. We have a second from Councilmember Lynn. Is there any additional discussion? All right, we are ready to vote.
I believe all other signs are already proactive because you got to get a sign permit.
Possibly.
Motion carries 6-1.
Thank you. All right, we'll move on to item 8.3. And thank you, Mr. Morris. Item 8.3 is approve the purchase of Motorola irrigation controllers from Braniff Systems, Inc. Mr. Keen.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. The item before you is to upgrade and replace existing Motorola irrigation controllers. These units have been in the field since 2005. We can no longer get parts to work on these irrigation controllers. And they are operating off of Windows XP software, which is no longer supported by Windows either. So these controllers are quite outdated and need to be replaced. With these controllers, they will sense flow and automatically shut down at times when they shouldn't be running. So in other words, if there is an irrigation leak in some way, they can identify that, wait a minute, water is not supposed to be flowing right now, and they will shut down themselves, alert staff that there was a problem out there. So the next morning, the staff can go out and work on the problem and fix that. These irrigation controllers are mainly north of McCullough in areas such as Wheeler Park, Fire Station 2, Avalon Park, Dick Sant Park, Public Works Maintenance Yard, the airport, monument sign north on Highway 95, Realtor Park. With that, I will take any questions.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Keene. Are there any questions for Mr. Keene from members of the council?
I just want to make a statement. Thank you so much for doing this, making this a top priority this year. I'd love to see all of the city's public irrigations up to date like this. It's really important to our community.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And Mr. Keene, how is the rest of the community? Are they on similar systems or?
Yeah, we've been working on trying to upgrade piece by piece since 2015, replacing all these older models that were purchased in and around 2005.
And so then this item
So
would
this
complete?
will complete that system, yes.
Yeah, very good. Thank you. Yeah, any other questions or comments from members of the council? All right, this is a public hearing. Would anyone like to address the city council on this item? All right, seeing none, we'll close the public hearing, bring it back to council for discussion or possible motion.
Mayor,
Vice Mayor Dolan,
motion.
please.
I move to approve the purchase of Motorola irrigation controllers from Banff Systems Incorporated and authorize the city manager to sign the cooperative purchase agreement on behalf of the city.
Second.
We have a motion from Vice Mayor Dolan, a second from Councilmember Moses. Is there any additional discussion? Seeing none, we're ready to vote.
Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Keene. All right, item 8.4 is approve amendment number 1 to the cooperative purchase agreement with Omnia Partners for the purchase of two 2002 Caterpillar 926M wheel loaders from Empire Southwest LLC, DBA Empire Machinery. Mr. Young.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. Nice to see you again. The weather's cooler, so everyone seems to be in a little better mood anyhow, huh? I'm bringing forth to you tonight two Caterpillar 926M wheel loaders that have been included in the approved budget to go through the Omnia cooperative purchase with the City of Tucson. These loaders will be replacing two of our older loaders, one that is 17 years old, one that is 14 years old, and have many, many hours and more than double the points on them. They're recommended to be replaced at 32. One's at 60 points and one's at 50.9, I believe. Yes. These two loaders combined will be $490,046.04. And I ask for permission to purchase them so we can keep doing our work that we need to do.
Excellent. Thank you, Mr. Young. Are there any questions or comments from members of the council?
Just a comment. I want to let you know this cooperative agreement that you've written up here or received is outstanding. We have reached out to purchase pretty much like equipment, just so everybody on council knows, and they cost us about $330,000 a piece. So that would have been closer to $660,000, but these cooperative agreements are very successful. I wish we could be a part of them, but we can't because we're not a government entity. But I just want to let you guys know this is a good deal, and they're very hard to get right now, and it might be quite a while before you get it. How long do you expect to get it?
They're saying 6 to 9 months.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments of Mr. Young from members of the council? All right, this is a public hearing. Would anyone like to address the city council on this item? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing, bring it back to council for discussion or possible motion.
Mayor,
Councilmember Moses?
I move to approve amendment number 1 to cooperative purchase agreement with Empire Southwest LLC, DBA Empire Machinery for the purchase of two 2022 Caterpillar 926M wheel loaders in the amount of $490,046.04 and authorize the city manager to execute the amendment to number 1 on behalf of the city.
Second.
We have a motion from Councilmember Moses and a second from Vice Mayor Dolan. Is there any additional discussion? Seeing none, we're ready to vote.
Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Young.
Mayor, can I just, it's interesting that you always hear everything government does costs way more than the private sector, but not in our vehicles. I think we do a really good job there.
Yeah, thank you. All right, we'll move on to item 8.5, which is also Mr. Young's item, is approve amendment number 1 to services agreement with multi-term maintenance sweeping for the renewal and price increase with Precision Sweeping LLC. Mr. Young.
Yes, sir. We've gone through our initial 2 years, and it was time to renew, and they did submit a price increase. However, it was a very good price increase. They still came in under what the second place bidder was from 2 years ago, which I found pretty darn good because I wasn't expecting that. So it would up us from 153,762 to 184,514.40 if we use all 4 services. Normally, we just use 2 sweeps and go from there as needed. So if we can get that approved and get it signed, we'll have them in here about November 8th, sweeping and cleaning this town up nice and pretty.
Yeah, very nice. Yeah, thank you. So what we do for our community and our roads is instead of sweeping in-house, we have a company that comes through and they sweep through the entire community in a really rapid pace. And they do it a minimum of 2 times, sometimes 3, depending on storms and the other stuff that may occur in our roadways. It's a good way, obviously, to help maintain the roadways in a quick fashion. But as Mr. Young said, with council adoption this evening, we'll be able to have that done in early November, which some of the roads are in desperate need of this. So do any council members have any questions or comments for Mr. Young before we open the public hearing?
Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, Councilmember Lane.
I just want some clarification for the public also. We just recently bought a sweeper. Can you just tell me what the difference is, what we do in-house and what we hire out to do? Can you just tell us what the difference of that is?
Sure. Yeah, I'll start and then I may turn it over to Mr. Young. But so this sweeping contract, as I said, does the entire community all at once. But we do use a street sweeper for storm cleanup. We do a lot of that. Or if somebody loses a load or part of something out of the back of their truck and we need to do a quick cleanup throughout the community, that's what the sweepers that we purchased did. There could be potentially a time where we have enough equipment to do it in-house, and that might be a conversation that the council has at that time. Currently, even with what we have approved in sweepers for purchase, we don't have enough equipment or resources to do the entire community. And Mr. Young, with that, I'll turn it over to you for anything I missed.
You didn't miss much. The sweepers we currently have, we are limping along desperately. The new sweeper that we have ordered probably won't be here for a year. So we're still in the process of needing an outside company to come in and do the full city sweeps. As he stated, if they have just left and a storm hits, we push our sweepers a little further and see if we can do the best we can. But currently, the outside contract is needed.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments before we open up the public hearing? All right, this is a public hearing. Would anyone like to address the city council on this item? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing, bring it back to council for discussion or possible motion.
Mayor,
Councilmember Koch,
motion?
please.
I move to approve amendment number 1 to services agreement for multi-term maintenance sweeping with Precision Sweeping LLC.
Second.
We have a motion from Councilmember Koch and a second from Councilmember Lane. Is there any additional discussion? Seeing none, we're ready to vote.
Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you. All right, item 8.6 is discussion, update, acceptance of GMP and contract awards for the new municipal courthouse project, guaranteed maximum price, including additive alternatives 1 and 2 with FCI Constructors, Inc., construction manager at risk, construction services contract with FCI Constructors, Inc., and amendment number 3 to engineering professional services agreement with DG Architecture for construction administration. Mr. Frosley.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mayor and members of council, good evening. Before we get to this very important presentation, I wanted to take just a quick minute to introduce to you our newest project manager down in Public Works. This is Jared Teeley. Jared grew up in Kansas. He spent 15 years in Northern California gaining experience in public works. Spent the last year in New Mexico before he finally found us, and we're really hoping he calls this home. He's very good at his job, and I feel we're lucky to have him. So with that, I'll just turn it back to you and get things started.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Frosley. and welcome to Lake Havasu City.
Yes,
And
thank you very much.
It's Teely?
Teely.
Teely, excellent.
Yeah, ignore the spelling, it makes no sense.
Yeah, excellent.
Yes, thank you for having me. I'm just finishing up my second month here with the city. I'm really enjoying it. Just moved here, like Director Fresley said, from New Mexico. Love the community. People are super friendly, more what I'm used to than the city of Albuquerque. So the project before us is going to consist of the renovation of a property that was purchased by the city back in 2020 and ultimately convert it to the city's first municipal courthouse. It will involve the expansion of the existing second story and converting it to a community and multi-purpose room. So up to date, we did bring a construction manager at risk on board, which the acronym, which there's so many in this presentation, is CMAR. Pre-construction contract was entered into with FCI Constructors in April of 2022 to assist with final design and project cost estimating. DFDG completed 100% final design in September of 22. We handed plans and specs over to FCI Constructors, and in October they provided us a guaranteed maximum price, which we have received. And just so, if people aren't aware, guaranteed maximum price means just that. That's the most we'll pay. There are provisions written into the ultimate contract. Costs will be provided, and hopefully there'll be a potential savings after the project's complete. So right now at this time, I'm going to introduce Denise Orr. She's with DFD Architecture to discuss the proposed facility improvements.
Hi, I'm Denise from DFTG Architects, and I'm in conjunction with Selberg & Associates, your local architect. We proposed this layout for the municipal court. We're renovating the Lake Havasu Fitness Center. So same entry sequence into security and then through a lobby. The blue areas represent the new courtrooms. We'll have 2 new courtrooms with an adjoining jury room, as well as some new support for a virtual courtroom, as well as a jury room and several meeting rooms. The purple area that you see on the plan will be for staff and judges, as well as the clerk counters. And everything you see in tan is circulation area. And of course, the gray areas are the restrooms. So, yeah, there's a lot of restrooms in there. Second level is, again, as Jared mentioned, we're going to expand the existing mezzanine to create a assembly and multi-purpose room. This room can be set up in several different configurations. The furniture is all mobile, similar to this room here. Again, there's some AV and meeting rooms up there as well. And then there'll be a new elevator that connects the 2 levels in a public lobby. So, and we have some images. This is the entry lobby through security, and we have some meeting rooms. This is a typical courtroom, showing the coloration, the material, as we were just inspired by, obviously, the mountains and lake in the area. This is the clerk counters with the openness and, I guess, a friendly nature to interact with our customers, and also a nice waiting area between court sessions. And this is the community and multi-purpose room. So a nice large room, good coloration and lighting, and again, flexible space for furniture and tables. Thank you.
Thank you, Denise. Appreciate it. So if this contract is awarded this evening, we'll get contracts signed with FCI Constructors and hopefully begin construction towards the end of 2022. It is a 12-month contract, so we would hope to be to substantial completion by late fall of 2023, and then have a grand opening celebration in January of 2024. Now for the drum roll. The guaranteed maximum price that we received from FCI for construction of the first floor was $105,833, with the second floor expansion, which includes about another 1,800 square feet on the second floor. That price is $572,540. So that brings the GMP total to $6,078,373. So then on top of that first, let's call it $6.07 million, they did give us some add alternate items. And what that means is they provide us a price to do additional work, which staff is actually recommending for a couple of them. The 4 add alternates they gave us was number 1, to patch the stucco and give the entire exterior a fresh coat of paint. We think that's a good idea. That's an additional $74,668, and it'll just give the whole new facility a fresh look when you pull up to it, and will also help to preserve the stucco exterior. The second add alt was to replace laminate countertops with solid surface countertops. And we're recommending that just basically for durability and longevity in the materials that are going into it. And that was for an additional $21,008. Add alternate 3 was to slurry seal the existing parking lot in the amount of $24,177. The reason we chose not to do that add alternate was we do annual slurry seal projects, on our streets and city facilities anyway. So we thought if it needed it, we could just go ahead and have that next contract take care of that first. And number 4 was to change the wall covering to laminate walls in lieu of kind of a wallpaper, a heavy duty wallpaper covering. This has been through several different design iterations. So we're not recommending that one in the amount of $16,326. So what staff is recommending is a total cost for floors 1 and 2, as well as add alternates 1 and 2, in the amount of $6,174,049. So the second component to what we're asking for this evening is for an amendment with DFDG Architecture for construction administrative services and technical expertise to help us complete the project. Some of those tasks include review and respond to RFIs and submittals, attend weekly meetings and issue field reports, special inspections for structural components that are going to be added to the facility for the second floor, assist us with substantial and final completion inspections, review project closeout documentation, and prepare record drawings. That amendment cost is $98,052, and it will be for the 12-month duration of the construction project. So we did want to let you know there are going to be some future expenditures coming forward. FF&E, which stands for Furniture, Fixtures, and Equipment, will be approximately $700,000. There's been a lot of volatility in the market lately, so prices are changing crazy amounts. And unknown to us when the next cost increase is going to occur. Contract with E1 for audiovisual installation, so that'll be TVs, computers, network cable, all that kind of stuff. Another contract, that's anticipated to be about $586,000. Another contract you'll see coming forward is going to be for the security and access installation component of the facility. So that's all the cameras, interior door accesses, card readers, that kind of stuff for secure access. And then purchase of computers, servers, and other network infrastructure through our city IT department in order to connect to our existing IT infrastructure and as well as for the administrative office of the courts. And then that'll be about $260,000. And then another component is for the entry security, so the X-ray belt scanner and the wands, and that's anticipated to be about $27,000. There is potential grant funding available in the spring of 2023, so we're going to keep an eye on that just to help out everywhere we can. So that brings approximately another $1.76 million in future expenditures in order to fully complete and have a functioning courthouse. I wanted to give you just kind of an overview on similar courthouse remodel projects and their cost. So what we did is we gathered data from other courthouse renovations and remodels around the state. And you can see the very last one. I'm not going to run through them all because I know you can read all the per square foot prices, and y'all probably know better than I do where these courthouses are located since I'm new to the area. But you'll see Lake Havasu, we're coming in at $265 a square foot compared to the highest cost of $372 per square foot in Maricopa County, which Google told me is Phoenix. And I'm going to hand it over to Judge Kalali now so he can talk a little bit more about the project.
Mayor and Council, good evening, and thank you for the opportunity to address you tonight. And as I always do, aloha. So about 10 years ago, the council in one of the meetings that we had, one of the budget meetings, they asked us to do kind of a look-ahead exercise. They said, what will you folks look like in 10 years? And 10 years ago, I said that we would be full, that the trends that were occurring at the time, my prediction was that right now, we would be basically full and that we would need more space. So we're here now, and we need more space. There are, of a typical 2-week work week, and I say 2 weeks because we have Veterans Court every other Friday, Monday mornings, Tuesday mornings, Wednesday all day if there's a jury trial, Thursday mornings, and every other Friday all day we have need of 2 courtrooms. So if you look at a 2-week period, there's basically 2 days that we don't necessarily have the need for 2 courtrooms. Well, I have a great idea about 2 problem-solving courts that I would love to put into place. A co-occurring court, which is a mental health and drug court, and a community court, which would allow us, again, to provide services. That takes up those 2 days. And so if we're looking at doing what I would love for us to do, which is utilize and do the things that have given us success in Veterans Court and Youth Court, and utilize those for some of the other people that come into the legal system, we're full with 2 full courtrooms. As soon as we move in, as soon as we're able to put those together. We are already working hard on that. We have the community partners. We're talking with them already about the other programs that we'd love to put in place. We just can't do it where we are. And so I look forward to the opportunity to do that. What I would also say is that I appreciate the fact that you folks are looking ahead and saying whatever else happens with that upper level, at some point we could actually look at it as being another courtroom. Because I can tell you 5 years from now, we're going to need that as a 3rd courtroom. If we're already full in a year when we move in, when 5 years from now, we're going to need that as another courtroom. And so I appreciate the fact that you folks have that look ahead and are already saying, you know what, if we're going to do this, let's do it and let's do it right. And let's make sure that we plan for 5 and 10 years from now. So I've talked with you folks ad nauseum about all of these things on the slide here. And so I don't know necessarily that I need to talk with you folks again. I just really appreciate the fact that you folks have been willing to do this and to say, we understand the cost, we understand the need, and we're saying that the need will be worth the cost. And I really appreciate that. I appreciate the fact that you folks have done it and have been able to do it with the money that you have on hand. Most cities, most government organizations are either issuing bonds or have some kind of debt financing, and you folks haven't done that. And I really appreciate that. I think that's important for the people to know. But again, I appreciate the fact that you as a council have always supported the things that we wanted to do in our court. And even if you didn't necessarily agree with the way that we were doing them, or sometimes that whether or not it's the right thing, you still provided that support. And that's always been great. And so I really appreciate that and appreciate you folks for all that you do. So with that, contrary to what I typically do, which is about an hour and a half standing up here, I am done. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Judge. So tonight, we're asking for approval of 2 actions. One is to approve the GMP with FCI Constructors and approve a construction administration amendment with DFDG Architecture. So with that, we'll take any questions.
Excellent. Thank you. So the day has finally come. We've made it here. As Judge Cawley mentioned, 10 years in the making of conversations about what the needs are for the court and how do we address those needs for the court. For the last 6 years, this council has been working on how we do that. So just by way of some historical perspective of how did we get here and why are we here now, is Lake Havasu City operated in a consolidated court fashion for many years, and it worked out fairly well for a growing community. It consolidated with the Superior Court, the Justice Court with Justices of the Peace, and then our municipal court. However, as Judge Cawley had indicated, we have run out of space. And so we deconsolidated in August of 2019 at the request of the then presiding judge. And the presiding judge needed more space for their facilities and what it is that they're looking for. A deconsolidation in place means that we just became a tenant of that area. And now we pay a lease rate to stay where we're at now, but we don't have access to the services or the courtrooms that we need. So we went to work and we looked at a variety of things. And again, this is 2019, so a completely different world than we're in today. We looked at that time some large vacant retail spaces that we had available in our community for rent or purchase. We also looked at building brand new construction here on the City Hall complex. And then this opportunity came available to buy the facility when Jack and Dale Bailey decided to retire with Havasu Fitness, and we were able to purchase that building. So we now have been working towards how do we construct it and at what levels, and this council's been very conservative in our direction to staff about the cost and what we were looking for and how we wanted to do it. And I know some of the numbers changed throughout the project, but that was because the world changed throughout the project. So when we bought this building in August of 2020, it was before some of these inflationary issues, supply chain issues that occurred, some of the pandemic related issues that occurred, and we still are able to keep it in line with some of these numbers, which is fantastic. So contrary to what was in the paper this morning, that was just unfortunately misunderstood information. So not correct at all. We're not $900,000 over budget. When they came before council last, that was for the discussion, do we want to move forward with the second floor or not? And what does that look like? And at that time, this council gave direction to staff to move forward with the second floor, because if we don't do it now, there's never going to be a good time to do it, and the cost would be a lot more expensive. And I paraphrased a very long conversation into 3 sentences right there. But so we gave that direction, and we knew at that time that additional cost would be about $1 million, which was reported as the $900,000. So it wasn't a surprise. We understood that. We knew that. And then the other piece in the article that you may have read in the paper is that the second floor would be a shell. That's not the case, as you learned through the report this evening. It would be a fully functioning first and second floor as identified in tonight's area. This council also adopted a problem-solving court resolution giving Judge Kalali and his team the approval and go-ahead from us to be able to start pursuing things to add problem-solving courts, as the judge just mentioned. That cannot happen in our current facilities. So again, tonight we're not here for determination of if we should move forward or not. This is actually the only meeting that we're having that we're going to expend dollars on the actual construction. We've already had all those discussions about the need and where we're going and all of those types of things. It is now to award these contracts to be able to move forward with what that looks like. Are there any questions or comments from members of the council for Mr. Thiele or Judge Kalali, Mr. Knutson?
Mr. Mayor?
Vice Mayor Dolan?
Just want to thank the staff and thank our court staff back there. This has been a huge project, and it's very exciting to see that, it's something that we can have with just a little bit over a year. I was definitely critical of the construction costs coming into this. I remember meetings back, there was options for 9 million-ish, and we were very adamant we want to stay right around 5-ish, and when we did that, and I was also very critical of the second floor, but I guess my question I already know the answers to is in 5 years, when we know we absolutely need that room, would we be able to do it for $972,000 and $540? Would we be able to do that 5 years from now by having them come in after hours and work when court's not in session? And I know that answer already is it's virtually impossible. So I do support this. I do look forward to coming to a vote, but I just want to thank staff for all the hard work and everything we have to this point. So thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Campbell?
Mayor and everyone here, I'm new to this. The building was purchased prior to me sitting in this position. And I have been challenged to dig deep as I possibly can to find out whatever happened 10 years ago, 5 years, or 6 years ago. There's the good, the bad, and the ugly in my statement. I'm going to make it pretty quick. The good is absolutely we need this courthouse. I have spoken to everybody I can from the staff. I have dug up every direction from previous council to everybody. The courthouse needs to be built. We can't go backwards. We pretty much divorced ourselves and we're living in that same house and the situation's not good. So what are we going to do? Would I have bought the building? I don't know. I wasn't privy to those conversations, but the building is there. Is it the optimum location? I don't think so. Do I like the upstairs council chambers? I don't, because recently, even the third meeting sitting here, I remember a masked man coming in and he was kind of spooky, and I was looking around like, how are we going to get out of here? And I think everyone up here remembers that guy, the Freddy Krueger guy. And he was kind of scary. And I thought, wow. And has the situation gotten any better? No. We've had vice mayor and mayor getting threatened even worse than that because the state of the world that we know it. People are angry with our government for whatever reason. And sometimes it has to do with perception, because we were told we were going to deconsolidate. It was going to be $3.7 million to $7.4 million, to we're buying this building for $3 million, to it's only going to cost us $1.7 million more, to it might be $12 million. We don't know. Let's do this. Okay. But what I have to say is we need the courthouse. I like the direction that they went by getting a contractor on the job. I have reviewed every line item for you. My vote, yes or no tonight, I don't think makes a darn bit of difference. But for you, I did my due diligence. Today, I was at a men's club meeting, and I still didn't know which way I was going to vote, yes or no. I asked for a show of hands, the constituents, what do you want? They want us to move forward. I talked to the courts, I've talked to so many people. They don't like the process. They think that we could have done a better job, and I absolutely 100% agree with them. I think all these numbers went a little squirrely. I don't know if we did it all right, but I wasn't a party to it. I'm here today. And as of this morning, I thought I was going to be voting no, but I will be voting yes tonight. And the only other thing that I would like to add is, and everybody's going to think, oh, because she's in the asphalt business. Trust me, we don't do slurry. We don't care about slurry. But I tell you, unless they do it in-house, I want this parking lot at least slurried and striped and handicapped and accessible, because I don't want to see any more of our handicapped people falling down in our horrible parking lots, because take a look outside here. It's hideous. I'm embarrassed for our community that we're not maintaining what we have. So I certainly hope that the staff and everybody, I think you've done a great job. I think you guys have done the best you can do with the tools and the pandemic and the supply chain issues, everything that's in front of us. But I want to say I did my due diligence. I will be voting yes on this. I wish the process would have went a little differently, but here we are.
Yeah, thank you for your comments. Just for some clarification on those numbers, they changed, but so did the world. So we were doing this in a very open and transparent way. And as the different numbers changed, it was because the construction costs were going up. Literally, who knew that a cost of plywood would be jumping so quickly and so rapidly? Same with drywall and the availability of these types of things. We just didn't know. But starting prior to any of the pandemic stuff, we actually had in one of our CIP budgets a budget of $7.5 million to do this at one point prior, again, to the pandemic. But thank you for your comments. Councilmember Koch?
I thank you to the staff. This has been a really long project, and I've been here since the beginning of the first conversation. And thank you, Judge, for your patience. We told you, we heard you, we told you we're working on it. It's been a long process, but that's what we have to do to be the best keeper of the people's money. So with that, I just want to reiterate, Councilmember Campbell made a good comment. The security that's downstairs at the proposed site that we're talking about, you will have to go through that security then to get to the upper floor to that multipurpose room. So we then, as council or any other board or commission, will have that piece knowing that people have had to go through the security clearance to get through to be in the meeting room. Is that correct?
Absolutely.
So thank you again to the staff for all your hard work. I appreciate it. And thank you, Judge, again for your patience.
Yeah, Councilmember Lane.
Thank you. I'm going to repeat some stuff that some people have already said. One, thank you to our court staff. You guys do a phenomenal job. It's our job to give you the tools to do your job. And we're falling short right now, and we understand that because it's taken a long time for this process to go through. To the rest of the staff that's been working on this, I was here when we did all this, and we looked at the numbers, and we looked at building new buildings and right here on this campus. And the least expensive way of doing this was exactly the way we did it. And that comes out when you look at the cost per square foot for all the other projects around the state that are just like this. We did this very inexpensively, comparably. Does it cost more than we wanted it to cost? Sure. Have you been to the grocery store lately? It costs more than what we want to spend at the grocery store. Costs have gone up. Do we like that? Absolutely not. But do we pay it? Absolutely we do. It's our job to give these people the tools that they need to do their job. When it comes to being able to use what will eventually become the third courtroom as a city council chambers, absolutely. As Councilmember Koch said, we will have security now where when people come in the door, it will be safer for all of you because everybody will have to go through security. And then we won't have to worry about the issues that we're having right now with these death threats against members of our council, which I think is absolutely disgusting, but that's a whole nother story. So we did it the most least expensive way that we could do it. I'm not going to say cheapest because we're not going cheap, but we're also not building the Taj Mahal. We're doing a great job with the least amount of money to give the tools to our employees that they need to do. And not only do we have to abide by the rules that we've set forward, but there's also the Arizona court system that has requirements, and we're meeting those requirements as well. We don't get to just build a building and say, hey, this is going to be the way we're going to do it. If you don't like it, too bad. The court system has plans, and they have requirements that are there. When it comes to Councilmember Campbell's comment about the parking lot and the embarrassment, they do the best job they can do with the amount of money we give them. So if we gave them more money, they'd do better work or more work, but they do a great job with the amount of money that we give them because they have a budget too. So if you feel that they're not doing a good enough job, it's not their fault, it's our fault. So with that, Mayor, thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Councilmember Lane. Any additional comments before we open up the public hearing? All right, this is a public hearing. If you'd like to address the City Council on this item, please make your way to the podium and state your name for the record.
Hi, I'm Cindy Ritter. I'm really, really happy tonight to hear the things that all the council members have said. Because as you know, I'm very, very passionate about our community and about our veterans. And we do have, as Judge Kalali said, we do have two specialty courts right now. We have our Veterans Treatment Court and our Youth Court. In the Youth Court, we have had 230 graduates in the last 9 years that court has been going on. That's at the very least, 230 people who we have saved. In the Veterans Treatment Court, we've had 227 men and women graduate. And I've been there almost every hearing that they've had. And I've watched these men and women come into our court and they're broken and they don't want to live anymore. Seriously. We've had them come in and say, this court saved my life by arresting me and bringing me here. So we have saved 227 of our men and women who've served our country and wrote a check to, up including their life. We've saved them. We've saved their families. We've put their kids and their families back together. And just think, these people are your neighbors, are your friends, could be your family members, could be your kids' friends. We're making our community healthier. And that's what we need right now. More than anything, we need to extend these specialty courts so we can make our community healthy and make everyone a productive person in our society. And I really am thankful to hear all the great things you guys are saying about doing this court building because we really, really need it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello again, Donna McCoy.
citizen for 21 years here, also previously on the council. I was here when this whole defoggle of whatever you want to call it started. I can tell you that the relationship we had with the county and our courts was like putting two teenage daughters in one room. It was not working. It was not pretty. And so it was decided before 10 years ago that we were going to have to look to the future of this. And I remember when we did call Mitch up and say, in a perfect world, what would you want? Well, he asked for a little bit more than he's getting, I have to say. We kind of went, oh, shoot, we shouldn't have said that. But what he said was realistic, and it's grown that. In 10 years, look how we've run out of room. And another 5 years, you know, the way our community is growing, that we definitely are going to have that. And I just want to say, unless you were there, you don't know the choices that we made and the reason that we did that. Every council person, every staff member has done their due diligence about protecting our citizens. I pay taxes too. I don't want my taxes to go through the roof. That's why we come here instead of California. But guess what? This is life. We're growing and we're going to continue to grow, and we're going to have to pay for that growth because we have to keep our citizens safe and secure, and also the wonderful lives. Like, it's just amazing when you go into, you know, the Veterans Court, for if you have not been there, to be there and be a part of it. But I thank all of you, because you have followed through on the dream that we started and the dream that Mitch had to make it the kind of thing that we could all be proud of as a city. And also for the staff, because they are amazing what they do. So all of us have worked really hard to make sure that we made the right decision for our new court. And I am so thrilled that you're bringing that forward. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name's Emiliano Torres, and I just have a simple question. As a potential juror, where's the jury waiting rooms? Thank you.
Yeah, great question. Mr. Thiele, do you want to answer that question? Yeah.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. My name is Dave Seaver, and there's not much more I can say that Cindy hasn't already said, but I can only speak as a person who is a mentor for the Veterans Treatment Court. And I've been a mentor for several years now, and I've seen a lot of my guys, and I haven't had a woman mentee, but I've had several guys, and how successful this court has been. I've seen guys that are suicidal, that have seen the light, that found jobs, bought homes, families. The only thing I can add is that one thing that Judge Clowley says is we have a veterans court every other week. Well, because we're so staffed up or screwed up in our court system, we lose some of these Fridays. In fact, we're supposed to have 2 vet courts in November, but because there's a jury that the county or wherever it is has precedent to have the courtrooms, we're now going to have 1 vet court. And these veterans really look forward to going to these court sessions because there's a social side to this thing. A lot of these veterans have no friends. They've come in because maybe they're addicted to drugs or alcohol, or they have mental issues. They've created a social life for themselves. And it's because of that, and I'm just going to add one other thing that probably I'm out of step on, but there was a gentleman here earlier that talked about adopt a street. My alumni group wanted to adopt a street, and we could not because we couldn't meet all those conditions. And I've talked to Councilman Moses about this, so we're going to go another direction. But thank you. I think we need to get this court so we can have the mental issues addressed and the drug issues. So thank you for listening to me. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Seaver. And Mr. Thiele, if you could answer the question about the jury room.
Absolutely. So if you look at the top section in blue, so I'm just going to start at the left because I can point up there, but it's not going to make sense where I'm pointing. The left blue box is courtroom number 1. In between, the next box over is jury third time's a charm, jury deliberation room. The next one over is courtroom number 2. And then the top right box is the virtual courtroom. And then below that is the jury assembly room. And then a couple more meeting rooms.
Excellent. Thank you.
Hello.
Hi, Ms. Toy.
Hi, I'm Bonnie Toy. I just wanted to say that I'm looking forward to seeing the results of your courthouse being built. But something you guys keep repeating over and over again is how much we need the second story because of the planned increase of crime that you're pre-planning and trying to be proactive for. And I was hoping that I would just like to throw it out there. I don't know if this is the appropriate time to or not, or which time is, but maybe you could find a way to be even more proactive and avoid the crime altogether by hopefully treating people with respect and kindness and gentleness and that kind of thing. It is kind of annoying to keep saying, well, we need that second floor when what happens if you allow everybody to come here and treat them with respect and kindness, and maybe you won't need the second floor for a courthouse at all.
Yeah, thank you, Ms. Toy. That's great comments. And with the problem-solving courts that the council did the resolution on, that actually helped solve some of those solutions, but we need the space to do that.
Thank you, Judge. Well, thank you. Been a long trial. I don't agree with everything, but overall, at our meeting this morning, I did vote with Nancy's asked me, and she hadn't made her decision yet, but I think we kind of pushed her over the edge a little bit. And boy, I can't wait till December 23. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wisdom. Yeah.
Hi, I'm Terry Geyer, and I'm a licensed clinical social worker. I had spoke at one other meeting, but I just have to say my heart is so excited when I hear this today. For 47 years, I started out in juvenile court, adult court, drug and alcohol, dual diagnosed, so I have a lot of experience with this population. And this is what has been needed since the day I was 23 and went to my first job and said, oh, good, I get to help people who get in trouble. And the reason is because this talks about treating it as a community issue. And we're talking about, how to help people ahead of time. Some prevention, definitely good, strong intervention is always successful rather than crisis focused on everything. Our society has turned to crisis focus. That's why we're a big fat mess. And my other thought is, as you look at things, the criminal justice system is changing again. About every 20 years, they have to revamp everything. Well, everything is going back to family reintegration, taking people out of prison, trying not to put them in prison. And so that whole population that we haven't even talked about is going to be coming back into the community, and to have a place where they are somewhat familiar, but they can also then get the constant support of good counselors and other networks, and treat people as a family instead of an individual. And that means being able to assess, how were the kids impacted? What's their school going like? Do we need to get them involved? How about the churches? Are they faith-based? If so, can we get somebody from the church to help with that and bring these services and coordinate them for these people? I think that's the other thing I love about this idea is the coordination of care. We expect people, somebody who hasn't hiked, I was thinking this today, somebody who hasn't hiked, you say, well, go out to Sarah Park and hike and come on back in a couple hours. How successful is anybody going to be if they've never done that? right? Because they need a roadmap. They need somebody maybe with them because they lose their barrier. This is what happens to these populations. And when they're out of the community in prison coming back, it's going to be even worse. So my heart is just happy. And so that's all I got to say. Thank you. And Judge, I'm very impressed with you from the day I met you. And thank you for embracing me because I've had my mouth going about a lot of things. So, and he listens to me. So thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. Would anyone else like to address the city council on this item? All right, seeing that, we'll go ahead and close the public hearing and bring it back to council for.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, Vice Mayor Dolan.
I'd love to make a motion.
Please.
I had make a comment.
Oh, go for it.
I wanted to bring it back to my expertise, and we can go ahead and accept this as it's written. I mean, we can motion for that. But I just want to let you know the parking lot is in bad condition. We can slurry it, and then in 5 years, we're going to have to probably replace it or slurry it again. So under the architect's direction, maybe we can consider what would it cost, not in this particular, but later. Obviously, it's going to take a year to go with a concrete parking lot that will be permanent moving forward and nice and clean, because realistically, every time you have to slurry these or replace them, you're going to be shutting down your court and you're going to make it more difficult. So as my project management and my skills tell me, if you have a failed parking lot and you paint over a failed parking lot, it's just a painted failed parking lot. So moving forward, if we can consider concrete and you guys can buy it from Parker or Bullhead, you do not have to buy it from us. We can put that as a disclaimer in there that you don't have to buy from Campbell's. Just, I'm just making a comment on that. So what I'm saying here is if we could possibly, if Vice Mayor Dolan wants to motion for what it says here, could we look towards addressing the parking lot as well?
Sure. So the item in front of us with the suggested action that Mr. Teeley went over does not include the slurry seal. So that's not a recommendation. So we can address there is a lot of different components to the parking lot and the flow that might need to be addressed once the operation opens. I've had folks mention to me about the flow and what are we going to do with parking and all of these types of things. And I still contend that the fitness center had more of a parking and traffic risk because people all came at the same time before work, after work. They also went to group fitness classes at the same time. So there is a plan to address all of our city parking lots, which would include this facility with maintenance, but we can look forward to address. But this action here, if Vice Mayor Dolan's motion is this does not include that slurry seal at all, that excludes that.
Right.
Just before I make my motion, I guess my understanding was we still could do the slurry seal. It just wouldn't be with this construction company. We would include it in our annual stuff maybe next year, but it's still, correct me if I'm wrong, we could still do it next year during construction. We just wouldn't do it as an option with this company.
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay.
And my recommendation would be to do it before we open, so we don't get it all open and then we have to shut it all down. And it's messy. It's really dirty, and then they're going to be tracking it through the floor and the carpet and all of that. That's why we love concrete.
Yeah, and those will be discussions that we can have in our future budget hearings going forward. Vice Mayor Dolan?
All righty. I move to accept the GMP dated October 6, 2022, including additive alternatives 1 and 2 from FCI constructors. Approve and authorize the city manager to execute the CMAR construction services contract with FCI Constructors, Inc., and approve and authorize the city manager to execute amendment number 3 to engineering professional services agreement with DFDG Architecture for construction administration.
Second.
Yeah, first one to the button is going to get it. All right. we have a motion from Vice Mayor Dolan, a second from Councilmember Moses. Is there any additional discussion? Seeing none, we're ready to vote.
Motion carries 6-1.
Thank you. All right, moving on to item 9 is current events. Are there any council committee reports? Councilmember Moses?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. The co-work space is looking really good for kind of a December finish date and hoping to get going the first of next year. They're going to start taking reservations for spaces in December. Elliott Pollock Housing Study is kind of nearing finality with some options for the city to look at, and kind of a cool thing, Speed UTV, which they're instrumental in bringing to Havasu. Speed UTV is, I guess they're going to begin production out at that facility soon, but begin selling out of that facility the next year. So a lot of good stuff happening in Lake Havasu.
Thank you, Councilmember Moses. Any additional council committee reports? All right, item 10 is our future meetings. Our next meeting is going to be Tuesday, November 8th, 2022 at 6 p.m. It'll be a regular meeting. And then we'll also have a regular meeting on Tuesday, November 22nd, 2022 at 6 p.m. That also will be the swearing in of the council members and the mayor. Item 11, is there any future discussion items? Item 12, a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All right, we are adjourned. Thank you for being here. Be kind, and we'll see you next time.